Emmitt Smith, still to this day, is the NFL all-time leading rusher. He retired in 2004. He holds the record for at least 2 decades. He had a high school football coach named Dwight Thomas. Emmitt Smith said Dwight Thomas had this way of motivating the team, which was making the players write down the goals on a 3x5 card and have them put them in their lockers. Because, and I quote, Dwight Thomas said, "It's a dream until you write it down, and then it becomes a goal." He made them place the goal sheet next to the mirror in their locker so they could understand why you're coming to this locker every day and what you were doing it for. Emmitt Smith said that as Coach Dwight Smith was right. Emmitt Smith started for his high school football team as a freshman, and as a freshman he quickly surpassed all his goals. And this is something that I would state about goals. Once you set them, 10 times out of 10, you reach them. 9 times out of 10, you surpass them. Henry David Thoreau said, in the long run, we only hit what we aim at. In the long run, we only hit what we set goals for. This is Emmitt Smith, y'all. He got a football field named after him. This is the NFL all-time leading rusher. And the way that they're using running backs nowadays, that record may never be broken. If it gets broken, that running back gonna be something special. Once again, this is Emmitt Smith, y'all. NFL all-time leading rusher. And if you know the history of the NFL, there was some great running backs. Jim Brown, O.J. Simpson, Adrian Peterson, just to name a few. The Dallas Cowboys drafted Emmitt Smith out of Florida, moved up 4 spots to get him. At his introductory conference, he said when he ends his career, he wants to be the NFL all-time leading rusher. In the long run, we only hit what we aim at. In the long run, we only hit what we set goals for. James Washington, Emmitt Smith's teammate, said Emmitt Smith had just got drafted. They were about to play dominoes and he grabbed a piece of paper. And Emmitt Smith said, no, don't use that paper. And James looked down, and on that paper, that piece of paper had 3 things written down on it. And they were, be the NFL leading rusher, be the team MVP, go to the Pro Bowl. It's a dream until you write it down, and then it becomes a goal. This was Emmitt Smith in high school. Now, Emmitt Smith in the NFL, in his first 10 NFL games, he was only getting about 11 carries a game. And Dallas only won 3 of them. And so Emmitt went off to the coaching staff like, I can't do nothing with 11 carries. You didn't draft me to carry the ball 11 times. You drafted me to run the football. So allow me to run the football. And this is another interesting thing setting goals do. And that's what the coaching staff did. They gave him the football. His workload almost doubled in the final 6 games. Dallas won 4 of them, while Emmitt Smith earned Pro Bowl and Rookie of the Year honors. 1 goal scratched off the list. And this is another phenomenal thing that setting goals does. It like kicks into action principles, laws. In this case, the action was the law of action, which states you need to take action towards your wants in order to manifest them. In this case, Emmitt Smith had goals. He knew he couldn't reach them with only 11 carries. So the action he took was going to the coaching staff like, look, I can't do anything with 11 carries. I need more. But imagine if he didn't set goals. He probably would have been satisfied with just 11 carries. The next season, the head coach, Jimmy Johnson, told Emmitt Smith, we are going to get you an offensive coach that knows how to get you the football. The next season, they got one of the best running offensive coordinators on the staff, Norv Turner. Another law, the law of attraction, which states, whatever you give your energy and attention to is what will come back to you. Emmitt Smith was so good and determined and set goals, which put the law of action in action, that put the law of attraction in action. And now you got one of the greatest running backs on the same team with one of the greatest offensive coordinators. In that year, he led the NFL in rushing, another goal scratched off the list, and they won their first playoff game in almost a decade. In 1992, Emmitt Smith led the NFL in rushing for the second straight year. Another goal scratched off the list. In 1992, he propelled Dallas to the Super Bowl, becoming the first NFL rushing title running back in history to win the Super Bowl, becoming the first NFL leading rusher in history to win the Super Bowl. Next season, Emmitt Smith was the NFL MVP. They go back to the Super Bowl again with 2 touchdowns and 132 rushing yards. He was named Super Bowl MVP. So in the same season, he was NFL MVP and Super Bowl MVP. Remember that goal of being team MVP on his list? You can now scratch that off the list. All 3 goals scratched off the list. Only one NFL goal left, the one he stated at his press conference. And you can bet he had that written down in front of a mirror somewhere. In 1995, Emmitt Smith led the Dallas Cowboys to the 3rd Super Bowl in 4 years, earning his 4th rushing title, leading the NFL in rushing for his 4th year. After that Super Bowl season, one of his teammates, Nate Newton, went to Emmitt Smith. He saw him. He said, "You passed the short term. What else are you trying to accomplish here?" Who can guess what Emmitt Smith did next? He laughed. He said, Emmitt Smith took out a piece of paper and said, "If I do this, 100 yards. If I do this, this, and I don't get hurt, and this, and by a certain year, he had himself past Walter Payton." And as the seasons went by, the Dallas dynasty of winning 3 Super Bowls in 4 years dwindled. But Emmitt Smith continued inching closer to Walter Payton. He continued inching closer to becoming the NFL's all-time leading rusher. In 2002, he was 542 yards shy of being a rushing king, of being the NFL's all-time rushing leader. Remember I told you, you can bet he had that goal written down. His wife said, and I quote, "I knew that was one of his dreams and his goals he had written down, but it wasn't until way down the road that I realized that we are getting really, really close." And she says, she remembers working with the Cowboys and our family trying to figure out, okay, do we go to this game? Do we go to the next game? How about if all these people come in town and he doesn't break it? And one day we were sitting down and talking, and he said, this is Emmitt to his wife, "Go ahead and invite everybody." And on October 27, 2002, Emmitt Smith took the field, needing 93 yards to achieve the loftiest goal he had ever set. The biggest goal he had ever set. And on October 27, 2002, Cowboys versus Seahawks, Emmitt Smith broke Walter Payton's record and became the NFL's all-time leading rusher. He played, I think, 2 more seasons and is still the NFL's all-time leading rusher. It's a dream until you write it down. Dwight Thomas. In the long run, men only hit what they aim at. Henry David Thoreau.